This video is going to cover formatting in Excel using keyboard shortcuts. To teach these different commands, I'm going to use a financial model that may look familiar if you've seen any of my prior videos. This model is a made-up model for a fictitious company that I'm calling Company A. And as you can see, this Excel sheet is very unformatted and looks very messy. So we are going to follow the instructions that I have laid out in columns H and I to clean it up. The first thing we're going to do is change cell C6's font color and fill color. Now, why do I want to change the cell's font color? Well, when you're building financial models, it is best practice to use color coding to distinguish the difference between hard-coded values, formulas, and linked cells. Now, as you can see, when I move to the bottom of the sheet, these cells here are hard-coded values, and so they are formatted in blue. All formulas should be in black, and all links should be in green. So cell C6, as you can see, is a link, so let's change that to green. Now to do so, we're going to hit Alt-H-F-C. I'm then going to use my arrow keys to find the color that I want. So I'm just going to arrow down to the standard color section, find the green I like, and then I'm going to hit Enter. Next, we want to remove the cell's fill color, which is currently a bright yellow. So we're going to hit Alt-H-H, and then once again, I can use my arrow keys to select a new color. However, for this model, I actually don't want any color at all. And so instead, I'm going to hit the N key, which will remove all fill color from the cell. Now let's move on to step number 2, which is to correctly format all dollar signs and percentage signs in the financial projections section. And so I'm talking about this highlighted section here. All of these numbers should be formatted with dollar signs, and all the decimals should be percentages. So to format these cells, I'm going to hit Control 1, which opens up this formatting box. I'm going to stay within the number section of this formatting box by hitting the Tab key to move within the category section. And here I have a number of different options for formatting these cells, as you can see. You can even do custom formatting, update as percentage, time. What I'm looking to do is turn these all into dollar signs. And so I'll go into the currency section. It gives you a sample of what the formatted cell would look like. And from here, I can tab into the decimal sections box and update that to 0. I can also tab into the symbols box and use the down arrow to select the type of currency symbol I want, which in my case is US dollars. I can also select how I want my negative numbers to look, such as in red or in parentheses. I prefer black in parentheses, so that's what I'm going to select. And then I just hit Enter. Now, you may have noticed that I had highlighted the entire financial projections section when I was updating the formatting into dollar signs. And this included the cells that I actually want to change into percentages. And so why did I change everything at once? Well, really it was to save time. If I had not done it all at once, which I can show you now by hitting Control Z, I would have had to do it section by section, which I'm showing you now, which in my opinion is much more time intensive, especially when you're working with larger models. So I think it's important to note that you always want to be thinking about how you can reduce the number of steps you're taking in Excel in order to become as efficient as possible. I find it most efficient to change the entire area at once and then come back to make any updates, which I will do now by changing the decimals into percentages, which once again we can do using Control 1, and then repeating this action by highlighting the additional cells and hitting F4. So now that the financial projections section looks pretty good, we can move on to step 3, which is to resize column B's width. And as you can see, all of the text in column B is getting cut off, so it's pretty clear that this column is missized. So one way that we can update the width is to stay in column B and hit Alt-H-O-W. And this allows us to type in the width that we want. And so right now it's at a 5, and so let's say I want to double that to a 10. There, now that's starting to look better, but we can see that some sections, especially at the bottom, are still getting cut off. So the other way that we can update this is by highlighting these cells and hitting Alt-H-O-I, which will auto-fit the width based on the current text. Now that looks a lot better. So now that we can move on to step 4, which is to resize column 6's height. And similar to how we did this with width, we can hit Alt-H-O-H, which allows us to directly type in the height that we want, and then hit enter. We could also highlight the entire row and hit Alt-H-O-A, which automatically resizes the height based off of the cell's current text. We've made a lot of great progress so far, but let's continue on with step 5, which is to add a border below years 2022 through 2024. So I'll first highlight the cells that I want to add the border to, and then I'll hit Alt-H-B. I can then arrow down to choose the selection I want to make, or I can hit O to select bottom border. Step 6 is to center the cell with fiscal year ending evenly across the years 2022 through 2024. Now, what I see most people do in this type of situation is to merge this cell across the selection. And I'm going to show you why I do not like to merge cells. And so to demonstrate, I'll do that quickly for you. So now that I've merged these cells, the problem is that I can't highlight any of these columns individually without highlighting all of the others. And so for instance, if I try to highlight column D, I'm highlighting the entire column C through E. So that can slow you down in a lot of ways. A better way to do this, I'll demonstrate now. So I'll instead highlight the cell fiscal year ending and all the cells I want it centered across. I then hit Control-1, which we've done before. But instead of staying within this number section, I'm instead going to arrow over to the alignment section and then move down and use my arrow keys to select Center Across Selection. I hit Enter. Now you can see fiscal year ending is evenly centered across these columns, but unlike with merge, I can highlight each column individually. Now let's learn how to freeze panes, which can be really helpful when working with large Excel files and you still want to be able to move around the file, but still see certain columns and rows at all times. And so Excel has a couple of built-in options for us, which we can see if we hit Alt-W-F. And so these options are either freezing the top row or freezing the first column. For this Excel, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to use either of these options. So instead, we're going to use the top option, which is to freeze panes. So what this is going to do is it's going to freeze everything above the cell I'm currently in and to the left of the cell I'm currently in. So we can see when we scroll over to the right that column B stays fixed and everything column 5 and above stays fixed. Our last step is to remove grid lines, which we do by hitting Alt-W-V-G. And then to end this video, I'll just make a couple of minor changes to make this model look even better by adding some more underlines, some bold, some italicizing. Definitely not my best work, but just some ideas for how you can make an Excel model look a little bit better. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe and leave me any comments that you may have.